Hello, everybody. It is your least favorite of the two hosts of Tea Time. I am Tyler Trudeau, back at it with another adventure. Another solo tea time, we will see. But Teddy is out again today. We are gonna miss Teddy, but Teddy's gonna come back, I'm sure, with some exciting news, and I am just absolutely thrilled to hear what Teddy has to say when he comes back. If you know, you know. But absolutely excited to be back today. We had quite an interesting weekend of games, but we are going to do things a little differently this weekend. So I obviously do not have a co-host this weekend, and we're going to get into maybe a little special guest later to talk a little 10-year anniversaries. But I did want to briefly touch on the games this weekend, go the games that are coming up this week, and of course, briefly touch on some receipts that we owe. And I think Teddy and I pretty much nailed it this week. I know I rushed through Teddy's predictions right at the end of the show last week, but it was pretty predictable outcomes. We're going to give a big L, though. I think the biggest L of the year we could give to Tea Time is Christian Barnes. Horrible take. 2-1 Ottawa. Not looking great, my friend. So Christian Barnes, biggest L Tea Time is given out this year right now. Congratulations to you. And we had a comment last week from my good buddy, Mr. Love. Nick, I did watch your games past 10 minutes. Other weeks, you may be correct on those things that you stated in the comments. I, however, mentioned that your game was 150 feet recorded away. I couldn't see anything, and I don't know anyone's name, so I apologize. But you're right, Nick. You probably would have finished those goals that Ashton missed. So thank you for the clarification, and we will again try and be better for the people because we are the show of the people. Let's go into the game recaps. Washington Admirals took care of business. Brian Mulcahy, absolutely outstanding, starting off every single game, just punching Ottawa in the face. And I like to see that Washington was getting their depth in there. I was really impressed with some of those players. But when Washington started to stall out, I really loved seeing players like Riley Stars step up. Lots of assists for Riley this weekend, lots of goals for Brian this weekend. Very concerning that the Beaters really were really struggling to get control at many points throughout this series. Really want to see Washington be better in that regard, but I will give my props. Ogu, outstanding performance this weekend. 2 out of 3 pulls, very close to my 3 for 3 prediction, but absolutely beast of a player. And to be quite frank, Ottawa, you did do a lot better than I expected, so I will give you thumbs up there. But that's about all you're going to get from me. And then, of course, we had the Lombardi boys, Cleveland heading into Chicago or vice versa, because I'm not 100% sure where any of these fields are. But it was really cool to see some different players that we don't usually see in Chicago play. Loved seeing the Nathan Digman, Justin Cole connection. I swear there was one point where it was like, Nathan, you score the ball. No, Justin, you score the ball. No, Nathan, you score the ball. I love seeing that. However, I thought it would be a little bit bigger of a difference, but I got to give props to the Lombardi boy himself. I know for a fact Washington was not, Chicago was not a believer in the Joe Lombardi hype. I will say post game, they are now believers. Joe is legit, and I think we need to talk about him as a serious player going forward. Next week's games. Detroit is just going to stomp on Toronto, and that's really all I'm going to say about that. So prove me wrong, Toronto, you won't. And then, of course, we have the classic Boston, New York, only on MLQ Network, the biggest rivalry in sports. So that's going to be interesting, honestly. No John Jackson this weekend, so that's going to be interesting. I think Leo and Lindsay are going to be able to carry it just fine. I think Mike Lee is going to have a big weekend. I know Mike Lee always wants to step up when playing Boston, but I think the beater difference is going to be big, but I don't know where Boston's going to get their goals. I need Athena to not just assist next game. Well, maybe Athena can just assist and they could pull a few games. I don't know. But again, this is, I think, New York's season to lose. I think they have the best player in the sport, Leo Freed, playing right now on their team. So I think it's going to be a New York 3-0 sweep, but Max Havlin has a habit of disrupting everything and creating chaos. So would not be surprised if Boston could even win the series. It would not shock me at all. I think this is going to be the most exciting series we have seen yet this season. So, where are we going? What are we doing now? What is this special guest?
Well, folks, we messed up and we sure do miss Teddy because we forgot to preview a series. We didn't realize this until we already finished recording. As you can tell, it is the next morning of our record day, which is usually on Wednesdays. It is Thursday morning. I am at work and I am here to tell you that we forgot about the Houston San Antonio series because guess what? It's going to be another sweep. We are likely looking at 3 sweeps again this weekend. Also need to apologize because Teddy also gave his takes that I forgot to give. And again, Teddy's also predicting all sweeps. He's thinking the only thing that could stop it from a 9-0 weekend is going to be Boston. So Boston, put that in your motivation to pull off an upset and maybe get a win or two. I will say, though, for this Houston-San Antonio series, really seems like that a majority of the Houston good players are now on San Antonio. So I really have no hope for the legends, if you will. So let's see how badly San Antonio destroys the Houston Legends. And I will say what I said to Washington last week. San Antonio, there's not much you can do to impress me this weekend, but, you know, there's a lot you can do to disappoint me. So I got a 3-0 sweep. So does Teddy. Sorry for this. Back to the show and get ready for our interview.
I am so thrilled to be joined by one of my dearest friends in the entire world, and we happened to meet playing this sport together at a little place called Emerson College on the Boston Commons. I am thrilled to be joined today by Mr. David Fox. David, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, my pleasure, Tyler. When you get the call up to tea time, you know you've made it. I'm honored to be here. Long-time listener, first-time guest, and yeah, just happy to be able to contribute in some way. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. So, David, obviously we are in 2025, and 10 years ago, I remember, I think I was sitting in my dorm room with you, and
Yeah.
we got the big MLQ forums, or it was USQ forums at that point, or whatever.
Yeah.
Quidditch
It was
discussion,
USQ forums, yeah.
whatever it was on Facebook, where this news dropped that they were making a summer league, and immediately David and I looked at each other and we were like, we got to be on that Boston team. We got to try out. And one of the things that I loved about you, David, is you took no prisoners and you kind of gave me that dog mentality early on, telling me freshman year, I don't go to tournaments to make friends. I go to win. And here we are, 2015. I think both of us had calmed down a little bit at that point. But now we are seeing ourselves playing with people that we had more or less been making enemies with since we started at Emerson College. We were playing against Andrew Miller and Tufts. That was interesting. Max Havlin with BU. That was extremely interesting. Hey, we weren't really angry with Harry personally. Harry loved everyone back in college, but we didn't really like Maryland too much. So it's like,
Sure.
What is this team going to be? What was that like for you?
You know, definitely some healthy competition, just knowing that those players are good and that they've beaten us before. We've somewhat beaten them. Emerson didn't do so good against Maryland that year, so maybe a little angry against Harry in particular. But it comes down to being able to separate unhealthy competition and healthy competition. Like, you've got to be able to compartmentalize it. When you're playing the game, everyone is your enemy and you play to win. But when you're on the same team, then they're your teammates. You might not know them super well personally if you haven't played with them before or hung out that much outside of quadball, but it's a skill to learn how to put together a team, how to put aside whatever little petty differences you might have and just try and be part of something that's greater than the sum of its parts. And that first Boston year, I think that was kind of the whole shtick. Like, we had 2.5 lines of players who were all starters, who were all the best player on their college team, and every single person wanted to start and play all the minutes and do all the things. And so being able to take all of those big personalities and make them come together to win not every team can do that. Like you've seen plenty of superstar teams over the years that just don't come together. So I think it was just the right kinds of personalities. And also on the other side of it, it's like, sure, maybe not everyone on this team is my absolute favorite human being, but you can put that aside when you're just going out there and working toward the same goal.
And I think one of those same goals was the eighth man like putting out an article very quickly, being like,
Oh yeah.
wow, the New York Titans, they're so cool, even though they play in New Jersey. They're so
Yep.
awesome. This is great.
They said Boston didn't have any chasers. They said New York's got all the chasers. Boston's got nobody.
And I just loved assembling our line in the early practice stages, starting to form some stuff. And all of a sudden, like we have you, me, Harry, and Jules. And I felt like we were unstoppable at times.
Yeah, just so much athleticism, so much speed, so much strength, just the
I
ability
was
to get
so
more physical.
skinny back then, too. Oh my God. I was like
Dude,
so
same.
slender. It was ridiculous. But what were those games like, David? Because I remember a very passionate Boston team coming down to Washington on a very hot, hot day, and immediately we go up 4-0. And I remember you spiking your broom on the ground when they called the timeout and just screaming. And I think that defined a lot for us that season.
Yeah. That Washington series was so fun because Washington, if I recall correctly, was thinking that they were going to do something against Boston because they had taken one game off of New York in the first season, in the first week of play. And they had a name that maybe people don't know anymore, but Darren Creary on their team, who he was massive. He played for VCU. He was like 6'7".
He's still
Played
just as
basketball at
big. I was at a
VCU.
baby shower with him a couple weeks ago.
Oh, great. He didn't shrink. I'm glad to hear that his spine is okay. That's awesome. um, but there was definitely some healthy rivalry between me and Darren at the time, not because we knew each other or had even played against each other, but because when people see two tall black people, they want to pair them off and say who's better than whomst. And my assignment was to guard Darren the whole game, just face guard him the whole game, which is not a normal assignment. Normally, you're also watching the ball, you're watching the beaters, but no. My job was to be 1 inch away from Darren the entire time and just to push him and shove him and get under his skin. And
Double
sorry, Darren,
yellows.
I did that. Yeah, he red carded out of that game because he wasn't used to having to work for every inch and getting shoved with every step that he took.
And what people don't realize, Greg Bento realizes, David has a special move when guarding you,
Oh,
and
my
can
secrets.
do it very close. Is the palm to where, David? Where do you
The
palm
solar
people?
plexus. The solar
Yes,
plexus.
and it makes you just collapse
It's
because
true.
it is so painful. It knocks almost all the wind out of you immediately, and I'm sure a few solar plex jabs were in there at points for Jared. Maybe not the full Greg Bento full arm extension, but yeah, I didn't remember that until you started bringing it up. That yeah, that double yellow card was so fun, and I remember like
Yep.
Jake and Harry being mom and dad of like Jake like trying to like talk the ref down to settle it up, and Harry being like, "Yes, David, good, do it more, do it more." Like really, we were evil. We were evil people that summer. It felt like at times.
Oh yeah, we were playing with the chip on our shoulder from, like you said, the second that Eighth Man article came out, and the other teams just they didn't know why we were so angry, but we were really good at creating our own bulletin board material, which I think is really important for any team.
I think that'll happen when Harry just lectures you. So we also had a few friends from Richmond University join us. And David, you know my saying of you don't date your teammates, you marry them. And I gotta say, me and you, we have done a great job with that mindset. And though you and Carly were dating a little bit before MLQ started, that was the summer where we started dating our future wives that were our teammates as well. And that was just
Yeah.
an amazing fun dynamic that we actually even transitioned into a Bosnia line later that year. But tell me more about those relationships that were on the team, not between your future wife, but we had a lot of upperclassmen Emerson that had since graduated come back. We had Cassie Samuels, we had Wes Weiss back, we had people on QCB, like Sheldon and Connor Murphy. Like,
Yeah.
we just had so many randomly amazing people on that team.
You know, for me, like you said, I was not necessarily trying to make friends at quad ball events before then. For me, that first MLQ season was sort of the first time that I became friendly with people that didn't go to Emerson. So that was kind of really formative for me because from that point on, the whole quad ball scene became much more relaxed for me. It became more than just being about competing. It was also about nurturing these relationships that you have with people. And like, this is my time to see so and so who I never see except at quad ball stuff. And so it took a really just like special mix of people to be able to maintain such a competitive atmosphere, but then to also genuinely get along well enough where people were hanging out outside of practice, outside of the games. Like we were going over to people's houses for dinners. We were getting together, like to go to, I don't know,
We would
go to the
ride our
park and
bikes home
stuff. We ride
from
our bikes together.
practice.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a real community in a way that I had not experienced beforehand. And it's funny because MLQ is supposed to be the more competitive of the two leagues between that and USQ, but for me, it was the one that sort of activated my social side. So definitely have been very thankful for that over the years. Like
Definitely.
wouldn't have become friends with Harry Greenhouse if it wasn't for that first MLQ season. Just and I saw him last month, and it's like it's you never know how long these relationships are going to continue for, and that's kind of the best part about the sport.
It really does link everyone together, and that really is such a beautiful thing, especially when you look at that first MLQ championships 10 years ago. In like, I think we flew into Detroit, but it was really in Ohio, right? Like,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
in with the hotels were this like kind of sketchy uh really long motel, which was actually kind of awesome and perfect because we were all able to socialize with like other teams afterwards and everything and just all be outside with each other. But that first MLQ championship, we obviously go in, we have a tough game against Detroit to start. We then move on to Cleveland and absolutely mollywop them. Did you have like 50 goals or something crazy that game? Or
Yeah, we just ran the ball down their throat the whole game.
that
Easy
was
money.
one of those, oh, they think that they're going to take one on us. And like, I think Detroit was too afraid of us and they played a very close and respectful game. And like, we didn't know how to handle it because they were like, no, Boston's really good. And it was like, oh,
Right.
yeah. And Detroit just always grows them big out there. So it's just hard to drive through those people. And, yeah, we mollywopped on Cleveland, and that was when Cleveland was actually good. Sorry, Rose. But that sorry, Joe Lombardi. I mean no disrespect, but I kind of do. But mainly to that 2015 Cleveland team. It was nice to beat them badly.
Yeah.
But of course, we can't forget the catch that was never called good
Oh my
in
gosh.
game
What a
one.
controversy.
Go through that for me. For those who don't know, controversial Michael Clark Pointer, referee, makes the call to call off a completely, to my opinion, very legal and good uh, flag pull, if you will, in today's terms. But that almost ended a 2-year run that would have stopped the non-existent 2-year run. That would have ended that winning streak that continued on for another year after. What were your thoughts going through that moment? Were you on pitch at that point? I feel like we were both in separate spots on pitch or something.
Think I was off pitch at that time. Honestly, what I remember most about that game was I got hit in the head pretty hard in the first like 5 minutes. So I was feeling
We can't
not
have the
concussed,
CTE
but
allegations coming out right now, David. This is supposed to be a happy 10-year anniversary show, not a David's concussed.
oh, I mean, what's a concussion and what's just you're tired and it's hot out and you got hit in the head? Yeah, potato, potato. But so I just like wasn't fully in it. And I think that the team as a whole was not fully focused on that game because we had swept New York earlier in the year and we had already been winning so many games at championships. And I think that somehow we take our foot off of the gas in the championship game. And that flagpole was a wake up call. I can't remember if that was game one or game two. I think it was game
It was
one.
game one. It was game one.
Yeah. And the only person who came ready to play that in that game one was Julia, who I think got a yellow card at one point for cursing out our bench. She made a big hit on defense, then turns to the bench and starts absolutely laying into us F bombs, the entire dictionary of curse words, and she got a yellow card for it. And I think that was kind of the start of us waking up, but we weren't really fully there in time to stop that flag grab. Honestly, I wish that they had not called it off. I think that we were hoping they would because we like to win, but and it was legitimately called off because you have to wait for the 3-second count.
You know, a better
it would have been better
ref would keep the
television if they had won that game.
Yeah, but you know, who cares about ratings, especially when you're on a show like Tea Time, when you're really the only show. Anyway, no disrespect to half court line or MLQ replay or whatever it's called nowadays. David, any final thoughts? Really appreciate you being on the show today, but would love to hear any final words, any words of wisdom for our youngins going out there, balling out, playing hard. You have been a veteran on both Boston and New York teams. So who do you got this weekend?
Well, I live in Boston now, so I want to say Boston. New York's just so good. But I was in person at the Boston New York games last year, and they were closer than the scores indicated. And that was with New York having John Jackson. And it really felt like difference makers. If New York just plays their normal game, they're going to lose at least one game to Boston. Boston needs to find a way to score some goals just because I don't know if they have that elite put ball through hoops player, or at least I haven't seen someone who's willing to just ram the ball down the other team's throat.
Ethan Dillon's trying his hardest.
Trying. So I think that Boston is going to win one game. And it's going to happen because there's going to be one game where New York's going to have too many turnovers that Boston will capitalize on very quickly, because that's how they can score. They have to score in transition. The other two games, New York's going to say, okay, we messed up that one. Now we're going to get rid of the mistakes. We're going to slow things down. And as long as we don't turn it over, we can't lose.
Well, I love to see it. Folks, I want to thank David Fox for joining us tonight and for you joining us tonight on Tea Time. This has been a very fun experience these last 2 weeks, but don't worry. I'm pretty sure we are going to be back with Teddy next time. Same show format as last time, but let us know if you want to hear more stuff like this. We've had a lot of different plans to bring maybe other forms of the show on, whether it's different topics, different conversation, different panel guests, et cetera, et cetera. We want to know what you want to see from us. So let us know in those comments. But remember, the next time, no, that's the old outro. I keep doing that this year. I've been struggling with my closings. I need to be better. We all need to be better, folks. Have a great 4th of July. Happy holidays to everyone. And remember, that's the tea because Tyler and David Fox said so. Thank you very much, folks.